My parents threw me out at Thanksgiving dinner. They didn't expect I'd immediately cancel the $12,000 monthly mortgage payment, keeping them from foreclosure in 60 days. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe, say hello below, and tell us where you're watching from. Your support truly means everything. Let's continue. I stood in my parents' doorway holding a homemade sweet potato pie, watching my mother's face twist into something I'd never seen before. Not love. Not even recognition. Just cold, calculated dismissal. "You weren't supposed to come," she said flatly, blocking the entrance while Thanksgiving laughter echoed behind her. My stomach dropped. I'd been paying their $12,000 monthly mortgage for 3 years, saving them from foreclosure after Dad's failed business venture. And this was my greeting. "Mom, it's Thanksgiving. I texted everyone I was coming." My voice cracked slightly, betraying the confidence I'd tried to project. She glanced over her shoulder and I caught a glimpse of the dining room, my entire family seated around the extended table, including cousins I hadn't seen in months. The table I'd helped pay to keep under their roof. "Denise is here with her new fiancé. You'll make things awkward." Mom's words hit like ice water. Denise. My younger sister, who'd always been the golden child. The one who could do no wrong even when she stole my college fund money to start a boutique that failed within 6 months. The one whose debts I'd also quietly covered because family helps family. I'm her sister. Why would I make things awkward? But even as I asked, I knew. I'd always known, really. I just refused to see it. The way they'd taken my help but never my calls. The way I was invited to crises but never celebrations. The way my MBA and 6-figure salary meant I was the family ATM, not a daughter worth including. "Arnold, handle this." Mom turned away, disappearing into the house, leaving me face to face with my older brother. Arnold stepped onto the porch, closing the door firmly behind him. His expression wasn't apologetic. It was annoyed, like I was a solicitor who wouldn't take a hint. "Kristen, you should have called first," he said, crossing his arms. The same arms I'd helped support when he'd lost his job 2 years ago, sending him $3,000 without asking questions. The same brother who'd promised to pay me back but never mentioned it again. I did call. I texted the family group chat 3 days ago. Nobody responded, but nobody said not to come either. I heard how desperate I sounded, justifying my presence at my own family's home. Behind Arnold, I could see shadows moving past the curtained windows. They were all in there, probably pretending this wasn't happening. "Look, Denise specifically asked that you not be here. She's announcing her engagement, and after what you said about Trevor last time," Arnold started, but I cut him off. "You mean when I said Trevor was married?" "Because he was, Arnold. He had a whole wife and 2 kids in another state." I showed her the Facebook photos. I was trying to protect her. My hands were trembling now, the pie plate shaking slightly. The November cold was seeping through my coat, or maybe it was something colder coming from inside the house. Arnold shrugged. "That was a misunderstanding. Trevor explained everything. They're in love, and today's supposed to be about celebrating them, not dredging up old drama you caused." "Drama I caused? Saving my sister from a bigamist was drama I caused." The words settled in my chest like stones. "So that's it? I'm uninvited because I told the truth." "Nobody uninvited you. We just thought you'd understand." He reached for the door handle, clearly done with this conversation. "Understand what, exactly?" I stepped forward, blocking the door with my body. 3 years of swallowed words were suddenly rising in my throat like bile. "Understand that I'm good enough to save this house from foreclosure but not good enough to eat turkey in it? Understand that my money is welcome but my presence isn't." Arnold's jaw tightened. Behind him, the door opened slightly and I saw Dad's face peer out, then quickly retreat. He didn't even have the courage to face me himself. "You always make everything about money, Kristen. That's your problem." Arnold's words were like a slap. "We appreciate what you do, but that doesn't mean you get to control everything or judge Denise's relationships. Family isn't transactional." "You're right. It isn't." Something crystallized in that moment, cold and sharp and final. Which is why I won't treat it like a transaction anymore. I set the pie down on the porch railing carefully, like it was made of glass instead of my last shred of hope. Tell Mom and Dad I need to talk to them about the mortgage. The mortgage. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Arnold's eyes. What about it? That's between me and them. Have them call me. I turned to walk away, but Arnold grabbed my arm. Wait, Kristen, don't be dramatic. You can come in if it means that much to you. Just don't start anything with Denise. His grip was tight, almost desperate now. It wasn't concern for me, it was fear. Fear of what I might do, what it might cost them. I pulled my arm free, straightening my shoulders. No, Arnold. I'm done squeezing myself into spaces where I'm not wanted. I'm done making myself smaller so everyone else can be comfortable. Enjoy your dinner. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching my family's warm lit windows. I could see silhouettes moving inside, probably sitting back down to eat, probably already forgetting I'd been there. My phone sat in the cup holder, silent. Nobody was coming after me. Nobody was checking if I was okay. That's when I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding or a temporary conflict. This was how they really saw me. A resource, not a person. I picked up my phone and opened my banking app, fingers hovering over the automatic payment scheduled for tomorrow, the 1st of December. $12,000, transferred like clockwork every month for 36 months. $432,000 total, not counting the emergency payments when property taxes came due or when the water heater burst last spring. My financial advisor, Janet, had warned me about this arrangement from the start. Kristen, if you're going to help them, make it a loan with terms. Protect yourself, she'd said during our quarterly meeting 2 years ago. I'd smiled and said family was different, that I didn't need protection from my own parents. The memory made me want to scream. I opened my messages and found Janet's contact. It was Thanksgiving evening, but I knew she'd respond. She always checked her phone, and she'd always been more concerned about my family situation than was probably professional. Janet, I need to talk about the mortgage payments I've been making. Can you help me stop them legally? I typed, then paused before adding, and I need to understand what happens when they default. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Call me now, came her reply. I did. What happened? She asked without preamble. So I told her. Everything. Kristen, I need to ask you something important, Janet said after I finished explaining. Her voice was gentle but serious, the tone she used when delivering hard financial truths. Do you have any documentation that these were loans? Any promissory notes? Any texts acknowledging repayment? Anything in writing? I leaned my head against the steering wheel, eyes closed. No. Mom said putting it in writing would make it feel like we didn't trust each other. That real family doesn't need contracts. Of course she did. Janet sighed heavily. Okay, here's the situation. Legally, without documentation, those payments are considered gifts. You can stop making them immediately. They're voluntary payments from your account. But you likely can't recover what you've already paid because there's no legal obligation on their part to repay gifts. $432,000. Gone. Gifted to people who wouldn't let me through their door. What happens when I stop paying? I asked, my voice hollow. Based on what you've told me about their financial situation, they can't afford the mortgage without you. If they miss payments, the bank will start foreclosure proceedings. In this state, that typically takes about 60 days from the first missed payment to actual foreclosure sale, sometimes longer. They'll get notices, warnings, chances to catch up. Janet paused. Kristen, are you sure about this? I'm not judging. God knows they've treated you terribly, but this is permanent. This will blow up your family. They already blew it up, I said quietly. They blew it up when they decided I was a wallet instead of a daughter. I'm just accepting reality. I opened my eyes, staring at that warm house again. Walk me through how to stop the payments. Janet guided me through canceling the automatic transfer, then helped me draft an email to my parents. The email sat in my drafts folder for 3 hours while I drove aimlessly around the city. Every stoplight felt like a moment to reconsider, every turn a chance to delete the message and pretend tonight never happened. But my mother's face kept appearing in my mind, that cold, dismissive expression when she told me I wasn't supposed to come. Not, we forgot to tell you plans changed, or, I'm sorry there was a miscommunication. Just pure inconvenience that I dared to show up. I finally pulled into a coffee shop parking lot and opened the draft. Janet had helped me keep it professional, emotionless, legally clean. But I added one paragraph, the only piece of emotion I'd allow myself. Mom and Dad, effective immediately, I am discontinuing the monthly mortgage payments I've been making on your behalf. This decision comes after being turned away from Thanksgiving dinner today, which has made me realize that our family relationship has become one-sided and unsustainable. I wish you the best in resolving your financial situation. My finger hovered over the send button. This was it. The point of no return. Once I sent this, everything would change. They'd call probably. Beg maybe. Definitely be angry. Mom would cry. Dad would lecture me about duty and obligation and how ungrateful I was. Arnold would call me selfish. Denise would probably post something on social media about toxic siblings who abandon their families. I thought about that house. The house where I'd grown up, where I'd learned to ride a bike in the driveway, where I'd had my first heartbreak and my mother had actually hugged me. That was 20 years ago. When had she last hugged me? I couldn't remember. When had any of them called just to talk, not to ask for something? I pressed send. The swoosh sound seemed impossibly loud in my quiet car. Nothing happened at first. The email delivered at 8:47 p.m. on Thanksgiving night. I watched my phone like it might explode, but it stayed silent. No calls, no texts, nothing. They were probably still at dinner, phones put away, laughing and celebrating Denise's engagement to a man I was certain was still married. I wondered if they'd even check their email tonight. I drove home to my downtown apartment, the nice one-bedroom with the river view that I could have upgraded to a penthouse if I hadn't been paying their mortgage. The space felt different somehow, like I was seeing it clearly for the first time. My furniture was minimal, functional. I'd never bought the nice couch I wanted because that money could help Mom and Dad. Never upgraded my 10-year-old car because family comes first. Never taken that vacation to Ghana I'd been dreaming about because there was always some emergency at their house. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my cheap futon staring at my phone. Still nothing. It was almost worse than if they'd called screaming. The silence felt like confirmation. I wasn't important enough to warrant an immediate response. Even this wouldn't get their attention. At 11:34 p.m. my phone finally buzzed. Not a call, a text from Arnold. Are you serious right now? On Thanksgiving. Not, I'm sorry about earlier. Not, we should have handled that differently. Just indignation that I dared to disrupt their holiday with consequences. I typed back, I'm completely serious. The payments stop now. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, we need to talk about this like adults. As if I was the child throwing a tantrum. Not a 34-year-old woman who'd been financially supporting her entire family while being treated like an obligation. My phone exploded at 6:47 a.m. 17 missed calls, 9 voicemails, 32 texts. I'd finally fallen asleep around 2 a.m., exhausted from wine and crying and the strange, hollow feeling of having burned down everything I'd spent years building. I scrolled through the messages with detached fascination, like I was reading someone else's family drama. Mom, Kristen Marie Harris, you call me right now. This is not how we raised you. Dad, your mother is hysterical. Fix this immediately. Arnold, you're being incredibly selfish. Think about someone besides yourself for once. Denise, I knew you'd ruin my engagement. You can't stand seeing me happy. You're a miserable, jealous witch. Aunt Patricia, your mother called me crying. What is wrong with you? Cousin Shanice, girl, what happened? Your mom is posting on Facebook about ungrateful children. Facebook. Of course. I opened the app and found my mother's post immediately. It had 63 comments already. When you sacrifice everything for your children and they abandon you in your darkest hour. Praying for my family during this season of betrayal. Some people forget where they came from. The comments were a mixture of supportive relatives I hadn't spoken to in years and Mom's church friends, all expressing shock and disappointment. Nobody knew the full story. Nobody knew about the mortgage payments or the years of one-sided support. I'd been private about it because despite everything I'd been protecting them. protecting their pride, their image, their secrets. I screenshot the post and every comment, then screenshot every text message from last night and this morning. Janet had told me to document everything, and suddenly I understood why. This wasn't going to be a quiet family disagreement. This was war. I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop downtown at noon. Neutral ground, public place, witnesses. I wore my best work suit, armor really, and arrived 15 minutes early to secure a corner table where I could see the door. Janet had offered to come with me, but this felt like something I needed to face alone. At 12:03 they walked in. Mom, Dad, and Arnold. A united front, their faces set in identical expressions of righteous anger. Mom didn't even sit down before starting. How could you do this to us? After everything we've done for you? We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. Her voice was rising and other customers were starting to stare. Sit down, Mom. My voice was calm, cold. I'd practiced this in the mirror all morning. If you want to have this conversation, we're having it quietly or I'm leaving. They sat reluctantly. Dad leaned forward, his contractor's hands folded on the table. Kristen, baby girl, I know yesterday was rough, but this is extreme. You can't just cut us off like this. That house, it's the family home. Your grandmother's house. You'd let the bank take it because of one argument. One argument? I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and turned the screen toward them. 36 months of $12,000 payments. $432,000 total. Not counting the extra $20,000 for repairs, the $15,000 for Arnold's car, the $8,000 for Denise's boutique debt. $500,000, Dad. And yesterday wasn't an argument, it was a revelation. Arnold jumped in. We never asked you to. Yes, you did, I interrupted, my voice sharp as glass. You absolutely did. 3 years ago when the bank sent the foreclosure notice, who did you call? Me. You wanted to help, Mom said, but her voice had lost its conviction. You said you wanted to help the family. Nobody forced you. She wouldn't meet my eyes, focusing instead on her coffee cup. That's when I saw it. The new diamond bracelet on her wrist, sparkling under the coffee shop lights. I pointed at it, my hand trembling slightly. Where did that come from? I asked quietly. Mom's hand instinctively covered her wrist, but it was too late. That's a 3-carat tennis bracelet. Those run about $15,000. When did you get that? That's none of your business, she snapped. Your father bought it for our anniversary last month. We're allowed to have nice things, Kristen. We don't have to live like paupers just because. She stopped herself, but the damage was done. Just because what, Mom? Just because I'm paying your mortgage? Just because without me you'd have lost everything. My voice was rising now despite my earlier resolve. You're buying $15,000 bracelets while telling me you can't afford the house payment? While I'm driving a 10-year-old car and living in a studio apartment. Dad cleared his throat, trying to regain control. We needed to maintain appearances. Your mother volunteers at the church, she's on the community board. People expect you to pay your own bills, I said flatly. Here's what I expect. I expect that when I've given you $500,000, I at least get a seat at the Thanksgiving table. I expect that my sister doesn't get engaged to a married man with your blessing while you shut me out for telling the truth. I expect to be treated like a daughter, not an ATM. Arnold pulled out his phone. Fine, you want to talk about the money? Let's talk about it. I'll start paying you back. With what money, Arnold? The silence that followed was deafening. Arnold's mouth opened and closed, no words coming out. He'd been unemployed for 8 months, not 2 years like I'd thought. Mom had been lying to me about that too, asking for money for Arnold, while he spent his days at home playing video games and occasionally driving for a rideshare service. That's what I thought, I said, my exhaustion finally showing. You can't pay me back. None of you can. And honestly, I don't want your money anymore. I just want honesty. I want one person in this family to admit what this has really been. I looked at each of them in turn. Can any of you do that? Can any of you just say it? The silence stretched. Dad shifted in his seat. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, but no tears fell. Arnold stared at his phone. Finally, it was Mom who spoke, and her words were so quiet I almost didn't hear them. You were always the strong one. The smart one. We needed you to be that. And what was I supposed to need? I asked. What about what I needed? Did anyone ever ask? I stood up, gathering my things. Here's what's going to happen. The mortgage payments have stopped. If you can't make them, the bank will foreclose. That process takes about 60 days. You have 2 months to figure something out. Get jobs, sell the house, downsize, whatever. I'm not negotiating, I'm not lending you more money, and I'm not changing my mind. You can't do this, Dad said, standing now too. That house has been in our family for 40 years. Your grandmother. Grandma would be ashamed of how you've treated me, I said and watched him flinch. She told me before she died, don't let them use you, baby girl. I didn't understand what she meant then. I do now. The next 8 weeks were brutal. My phone rang constantly for the first few days. Family members I hadn't heard from in years suddenly had opinions about my cruelty. Aunt Patricia called me a disgrace. Uncle Jerome tried the guilt angle, talking about family loyalty. Denise sent me a 5-paragraph text message calling me every name she could think of, ending with, I hope you're happy ruining Mom and Dad's lives over your hurt feelings. I blocked most of them. Changed my number. Deactivated my social media. The few people I kept contact with were the ones who'd always been real with me. My college roommate Shayna, my coworker Diamond, and surprisingly my youngest cousin Tyler. He was only 19, but he'd apparently been watching this drama unfold with clearer eyes than anyone else. They're saying you're heartless, Tyler told me over coffee one Saturday. But I was there on Thanksgiving. I heard your mom tell Arnold to keep you out before you even showed up. They planned it, Kristen. And I've watched them take from you for years while talking trash about you behind your back. You did the right thing. His words shouldn't have mattered so much, he was just a kid, but they cracked something open in my chest. Someone saw. Someone understood. I wasn't crazy or cruel. I was just done. By week 6, the foreclosure notices started arriving at my parents' house. Arnold sent me photos of them as if that would change my mind. They're going to lose everything, he wrote. Is this really what you want? To be the person who destroyed our family? I stared at that message for a long time before responding. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped fixing what they broke. The house sold at auction on a cold Tuesday in February. I didn't attend, but Tyler sent me updates. Mom cried throughout the entire process. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. Arnold stood silent and angry. Denise, predictably, was nowhere to be found. She'd broken up with Trevor a week earlier when his actual wife showed up at her apartment. They moved into a small 2-bedroom rental across town, downsizing from their 4-bedroom home. Arnold went with them. I heard through Tyler that things were tense, cramped, and nobody was speaking much. I waited for the relief that was supposed to come, the satisfaction of boundaries enforced and consequences delivered. It never came. Instead, I felt hollow. I'd been right, completely justified, and absolutely alone. My mother sent one final email weeks after the auction. I hope you can live with what you've done. You chose money over family. That says everything about who you really are. I read it sitting in my apartment, the nicer one I'd finally rented with the river view I'd always wanted. I was planning my Ghana trip, learning to spend money on myself, going to therapy twice a week. I was healing, theoretically. Growing, supposedly. But late at night I still checked my phone, hoping for a message that never came. Not an apology, I knew better than to expect that. Just something. Acknowledgement that I'd mattered even a little. My therapist says I did the right thing, that toxic families require hard boundaries, that I couldn't set myself on fire to keep them warm. Janet says I'm finally building wealth for myself, that I'll be okay financially. Tyler says he's proud of me. But none of that stops the grief that hits me at unexpected moments. At holidays, at weddings I'm not invited to, in the quiet morning hours when I remember what it felt like to have a family, even a broken one. I saved myself. I know I did. But nobody tells you that sometimes saving yourself feels like drowning. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your own experiences in the comments. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? How did you handle it? Let's support each other through these difficult journeys. And remember, you're not alone.